Hey, what's up you COD elites? So in today's video, we're going to talk about exfiltration trios, which is just without a doubt one of my favorite modes that they've added to Warzone so far. It's actually my second favorite mode right now because Zombie Royale is my favorite one, but they just haven't had that in such a long time, so I'm having a ton of fun with this one right now. But anyways, in this video, we're going to go over the tips and tricks to help you win and also get high kills in this mode. But before we start, there is a very, very weird glitch that's happening right now. To be honest, most of you will probably know it if you've been playing this for a while, but I just want to share it with you anyways, just in case. And that's that when you die and respawn for the gulag or someone just buys you back, you'll notice that you can actually select field upgrades that you had selected in the create a class section from the game menu, and if you didn't realize this already, that's why there seems to be so many people running around with stopping power rounds in the late game in this mode, and it's just because a lot of them have realized this glitch and are abusing it pretty much. So to level the playing field, I'd suggest using stopping power rounds when you create your class, and then pretty much this is like the best thing to have as soon as you respawn, because it actually gives you a chance to kill people who have their full loadouts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, make sure you select stopping power rounds in your create a class menu as your field upgrade that you would normally use in Modern Warfare. Now, I'll admit I haven't actually tried out all the other field upgrades for this, so I don't know if they would work, but that's because I just assume stopping power rounds would be the best, and I think they pretty much are based on how many people are using them. I should have confirmed that before the video, but yeah, just so you know, stopping power is the only field upgrade I think that you can select that will guarantee you'll be able to use it when you respawn from the gulag or when you get bought back, but the other ones might work too as well. And yeah, with all that said now, let's go over the actual tips for this video that I wanted to talk about and the strategies that you can use to help you win and get more kills. So pretty much for tip number one, let's start with that. I think this might be like counterintuitive since I said like I'm giving you tips to get more kills, but I don't think you should drop in the hot zone right away. You know that yellow mark where it says the radio is going to spawn, and the reason why is because I don't know, like if you've ever tried dropping into Superstore or something, and you know, because of skill-based matchmaking, everyone like will be really sweaty, and it's just a very random, like it's just very random. You can't control what the scenario is going to be like. So if you drop into the hot zone right away, everyone will be doing that, and they'll all be like gunning you down. If you're trying to hide, you'll be getting shot from the back. If you're finished killing another team, you'll be third partied, and it's like rolling a dice, so I wouldn't recommend that. I think the best thing to do is to actually grab a truck or a helicopter and spend that time looting for some armor plates and ammo at the beginning, because the loadout actually drops very fast in this mode, so you really don't need to wait that long at all to get your loadout. And by staying in vehicles and being away from that initial hot zone and like being in the open somewhere where you can loot quite easily, you can pretty much guarantee yourselves the loadout drop safely. And hopefully by this point as well, once you do get the loadout, you'll also have some armor plates and enough ammo as well, which will be great because now you can drive to that radio spawn zone, and if you've timed it right, it should be like spawning in the next 30 seconds or so, so you'll be encountering just a ton of people that are rushing towards it, either on foot or maybe they don't have enough armor plates, or in many cases they're just not even getting the loadout because they don't have enough time. And by this point you'll just be able to rampage through that chaos pretty easily and hopefully score some really easy kills against people who don't have as much equipment as you do. Alright then, and so moving on to tip number two, and this is an equipment tip, and I'd highly recommend you guys to try using proximity mines, just because of the amount of vehicles that respawn in this. Like, not only are there people that are driving vehicles everywhere to try and get the contract in time, but the vehicles also respawn like almost instantly after you blow them up, so you can often just get random kills by leaving mines next to, say, the helicopters that recently spawned back. And like in some games, you know, nearly half my kills have just been from random proximity mines that I put in the vehicle spawn locations, and chances are midway through the game or something you'll just blow someone up who tries to land there. So it's a very, very good idea. And also a neat little trick you can do as well is, if you're in a vehicle and you've actually picked up the radio contract and everyone on the map is chasing you, what you could try doing is driving into a narrow passage, such as like underneath a bridge or through one of the tunnels, and have either yourself or someone on your team quickly place some proximity mines behind you. And this will almost guarantee to kill whoever is chasing you, because they're gonna just drive in a straight line, and they're not gonna, you know, they're just gonna be so focused on trying to kill you that they'll run straight into your proximity mine. And by going into like a narrow passageway like that, you pretty much force them to follow you in there, or at least if they see you put their mine and they're smart, they will drive somewhere else, which will delay them from actually getting to you. So yeah, the proximity mine in this just adds so much utility. It's unbelievable. Oh, and of course you can also like put them in buildings and things like that that you're trying to defend, which is very crucial in this mode when you have the contract. Alright then, with that said, let's go on to tip number 3 now, and this is actually a really annoying and probably quite cheeky thing to do, but if you pull it off, it can be really satisfying and very useful, and that's if you think you're about to die and there's no way to get yourself out alive of this situation, one of the best things you could do is just try running into the gas as far as you can, or if you have a vehicle, even better, just drive right in there. And so what this will do is, like, you'll die in there with the contract and radio. Sorry, I forgot to mention, this is do this if you have the radio contract. Yeah, so once you get in there, this will actually force it to respawn somewhere else instead, because no one will be able to get it. So this gives your teammates and buddies a chance to go in there and get the contract and try and get you back into the game, or at least, like, you can just stop your pursuers from getting it, which is equally as satisfying. So yeah, this is a good strategy to do, and I get really annoyed when people do it, so it's definitely worth doing if you just want to annoy everyone else in the lobby. Okay then, and for tip number 4 now, this is a bit of a funny one really, but what you'll want to do is, at the start of the game, if you can see where the contract will likely spawn, and if there's a truck there, near there, what you can do is land in the truck that spawns near the actual contract, and then get that truck, and what will happen is, if you, like, you know, midway into the game or something, when your truck is quite low on health, you can then drive back to where it spawned originally and just blow it up, and like a couple of seconds later a new truck will respawn and you can then go and grab that and have full health. So this is like because the vehicles, as I've mentioned, always respawn in this mode, like whether it's a helicopter or a truck. I think the cars respawn as well. I'm not 100% sure, but the trucks definitely respawn. So you can just do this neat little trick where when your truck's almost blown up, you just blow it up yourself, and then you get a new one in that same spot. And because you picked an area that's quite close to where the contract spawns, it just means that you can quickly go there and get a new vehicle whenever you need to. And hopefully it's also near the middle of the map, but if not, that's not the end of the world. The important thing is it's near where the contract spawns, so you can quickly go and get the radio contract if need be, and if you need a new truck, pretty much. Alright then, so moving on to tip number 5, and this is like something that's wrong with the game. It's just, I shouldn't even have to be giving this as a tip, but it is what it is, and that is when you're trying to get the radio contract and you happen to have a vehicle right next to it, for some reason the game will just prioritize you entering the vehicle when you press the action key instead, so it can be really annoying and frustrating, and I've lost games literally because of this, trying to pick up the radio contract, but because I have a car right next to it, it just makes me get in the car instead. Now, this is just really, really dumb, and it's such a shame that you have to do this, but when you're near a radio contract and you have a vehicle, make sure you park the vehicle quite far away from it so that you can then pick it up and get back on the vehicle. Like, don't just park it right next to it. It's gonna get you killed for sure, so just keep that in mind. Alright then, so moving on to tip number 6 now, and this is all about the best way to attack like a team that's on the roof, and I'm sure you've seen this millions of times before if you've played this game. If you've played this mode as much as I have, and that's, you know, the final 1 minute of the game, and there's a whole enemy team camping on top of some building in downtown or some rooftop somewhere thinking they're safe, and it's just like no one can seem to kill them because, first of all, you've got people like who try to enter the building from the bottom. They're fighting each other, and the ones that do survive, they manage to get to the top, but maybe they're down one squad mate, or they don't have enough armor plates because they took so many hits trying to get up there, and then the team at the top just kills them really easily, and it's just a really hard thing to do. But what you should do instead is, now, this is, like, if you can, by the way, if there's only, like, a minute left and you have to run up the stairway or go up the zip line, then by all means do that. But if you have some time and you're able to plan this out, what you should do instead is go for the helicopter and make sure, like, one of you has a airstrike or cluster strike. I think airstrike is better, but cluster strike sometimes can be really good as well. And once you have all of that, you want to then all get on the helicopter, and while you're approaching the building, have someone on the passenger seat call in an airstrike into the rooftop. And what this will do is it will force them to get off there for a split second while well, obviously if they stay there, they're gonna die. So while they're doing that, you can then land on the rooftop, get into position, and you'll just have a much better chance of trying to kill them rather than like trying to get up the stairways and going through all their claymores and like whatever. It's just a much more reliable way to do it, but this does require some planning and some money and money that you have saved up. And of course, if there's not enough time, it's really hard to pull off. But if you do get the chance, this is one of the best ways to clear up a rooftop in this mode. Alright then, and that leads us to the final tip that I have for you guys, and this is probably a really obvious tip in this mode, but like I'll say it anyways, and that is the best buildings to be in this mode are gonna be those really tall downtown buildings that I talked about, or like some other building where you can get to a really elevated position and there's only one way to come up. Like Airport Tower, for example, comes to mind. It's like if you can get into Airport Tower and no one else is up there and you have your loadouts and like one person just watching the elevator, you're pretty much set like for the whole game. But not that doesn't happen all the time. So like any of those other like really high buildings where there's only one stairway up is really good as well. And the reason for this is because it just stops you getting third partied. Like you'll only have to fight one team at a time, and as I mentioned, like usually those other teams will be fighting each other for the privilege of coming up those stairs to try and fight you. And by that time, you'll be killing people who maybe are down a player or have not enough armor plates, and it's just a very easy place to defend. Now, yeah, that's like I used to think that driving a truck around with the contract or flying a helicopter around the map was a good idea, but in this mode it really isn't. Like, every time I get the contract, if I stay on my truck, unless it's like, you know, the last few seconds of the game, but if I stay on my truck thinking I can just drive away from people the whole game, it never works because I always get gunned down and people set up for ambushes and they just like, if every team is shooting you just a little bit, you know, eventually you're going to get blown up for sure. So yeah, always just make it a priority to find one of those tall buildings with one way up that I mentioned. And yes, that now wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed these tips and tricks, and hopefully you enjoy this mode as much as I do because it's just so much fun. And like until they bring back Zombie Royale, this will be basically this is my second favorite mode right now, and I'm just really having so much fun with it. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay safe. See you in the next video. Bye.